Hi everybody and welcome. It's Lauren here from Acting Classes in Perth. This is episode number 13 of the Acting Classes in Perth Daily Show. The show where I sit down and answer all your acting related questions at 7 p.m. every single day. Yes, 7 days a week here on Facebook Live and simultaneously on YouTube Live as well. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Now, a huge thank you and a big shout out to everyone who is already watching us. Thank you so much. It means a lot that you're here with us, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I think it's only fair that we roll the intro before we jump into today's episode and today's question with Dorian. So let's roll the intro. Okay, so today's question comes into us from Dorian. Now, before we jump into Dorian's question, I do want to say a huge hello and thank you. Give us a big thumbs up if you are watching us live or if you're watching this video. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much. Leave a comment. I always try to answer them. If you want to ask a specific question or simply maybe you just want to say, g'day. Well, leave a hello or a g'day. I'd love to hear from you. But first of all, it's really important we get to our question from today, which comes into us from Dorian. Hey, Dorian, what's your question?
What is being typecast as an actor?
Dorian, thank you so much for sending in your question, mate. Now, look, it really comes down to how the audience sees you and their perception of you, I think. So when the audience struggles to accept you as a character other than what they've really known you to do or really maybe how they see you, that is generally what we call typecast, right? So if you are in a role that's so out of your type, then the audience can struggle to buy into the believability. An example of that may, when we kind of look back to the 90s and then into the early noughties, where we had someone like Jim Carrey who was doing a lot of very silly comedies, and then he wants to kind of up his career and move more into drama. That was a bit of a struggle for Jim. He kind of had to identify, okay, how do I address being more of a drama or craft performance-based actor and looking for more of those internal dialogue stories rather than just playing the outside funniness that he brought with his kind of slapstick humor. So he was very much typecast into comedy and a very specific type of comedy. Now, you can step out of your type and you can step out of being typecast. It is difficult. So what I would suggest is two things. Number one is it's always going to be refining your skills, improving your performance skills as an actor. So the ongoing learning process. But on top of that, I would also suggest, Dorian, that actors who are finding themselves being typecast, that maybe what they should do is rather than relying heavily on, putting themselves out at auditions all the time and hoping that someone's going to see them out of type, which I feel like is pretty risky, right? What I would do is I would focus and I would help you focus on finding a way that you can start to create your own content, create your own web series, short films, that kind of thing. And then you get to write the characters that you want to play. That way, you're kind of skipping a step. You're not having to rely on a director casting you in their project and for them taking a big risk, right? You're taking the big risk, which is fine. It's much easier to do. Then you have greater control over how you can be perceived in that and how the edit comes together. So if you feel something doesn't work, you can kind of go in, you can reshoot a bit, you can refine the editing, refine the cuts in the editing to help your performance in this new area and trying to step out of being typecast. And I think initially it's not going to happen straight away, right? Like you're not going to do one project out of type and it's like, wow, everyone thinks, wow, this is, brilliant, and he's totally out of type, and I love that. I think it's a gradual process where you will start to follow more of those roles, and I think at some point you're probably going to have to make a real asserted effort if you want to stay with the new type or the old type. But I think it can get a bit confusing for an audience if if you're kind of spread across both types for an extended period of time. The occasional film where you might step out of type, I think, is fine. But if you want to do that kind of, two types or be cast in multi-type over an extended period of time, I think that's not so much a great branding decision. From an audience standpoint, it's confusing. They don't know what film they're buying into when they go to the movies or go to the theater or buy a DVD or buy a download. And I think it will only help you in the long term if you niche down and focus on one particular style that works for you and that you want to work towards. And then don't be afraid or think that you're stuck into that type, right? Like later on, you can start to evolve that type as well and step out and maybe kind of evolve into a different type of character or type, further down the track as well. So these things aren't permanent, but it does take tenacity. It does take kind of getting off your backside and going and doing it. I would thoroughly recommend and suggest that you did it rather than hoping someone else is going to cast you in that role. And then finally, Dorian, I'd also say think about what type means for you as an actor starting out, right? So if you find that most of the roles you're getting cast in are a specific type, that doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. If anything, that could actually be a good thing because it's allowing you to look at the 80-20, right? So look at all the auditions you go to, identify maybe the 20% of auditions that end up leading you to getting 80% of the roles you get. Identifying that 20% will kind of make you realize, okay, what's the difference in the types of characters I'm going for? What are the vast majority of the roles I'm getting? Maybe that's my type or my style or how I'm best kind of coming across on screen. And then I wouldn't waste time once you've identified that 20%. I wouldn't waste time on the other 80% of the auditions. I'd focus as much of your time on filling more audition slots or more audition times with the types of characters that you really are getting and landing as an actor. And in some sense, I guess that's being typecast, right? But that's not a bad thing. That just means you've identified your strengths and you're using that and getting a whole lot more roles in that area. So in turn, you're actually going to probably get a lot more work than the average actor out there. Well, thank you so much, Dorian. It's actually quite an amazing question, quite a beautiful question. So thank you so much for sending it in. Now, if you liked Dorian's question, please hit the share button and help out a fellow actor. If you are watching us here on Facebook, be sure to like and follow our page at Acting Classes in Perth. And if you are watching us on YouTube, click the subscribe button, but then make sure you click the notification bell right next to the subscribe button so that you can stay in contact and up to date with everything we're sending out. Plus, if you're listening to us on iTunes, click the subscribe button and we'll keep you updated. Now, thank you so much for joining us for another episode. I'm going to see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. for what is another fantastic question answered by me. I'm Lauren Johnson here at Acting Classes in Perth. Until then, like always, stay safe and happy acting.